If it matters, pick up the phone. That's what people say, right? But what if the phone call is the hard part? When you process language slowly, real-time conversations feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle while someone keeps rearranging the pieces. By the time you find the right words, the moment has already moved on. And this is a disaster if you're trying to relay something that's important or emotionally intense. Maybe you want to pick up the phone, maybe you want to send a text message, or maybe you want to email them. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to choose the right communication method for emotionally charged situations so that you can protect your energy without losing your message. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey, what's going on? My name is Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast, the podcast for late identified autistic adults who want real relationships without fake masks. Let's talk connection, clarity, and showing up as your authentic self. The holidays are just about here. November, December are these months where we do a lot more than we've done in other places because the holidays mean a lot to a lot of different people. Whether or not you like it or not, it's going to solicit some emotion from you. Whether or not you're going home or not, it's soliciting some emotion from you. You're going to behave in a different way. It's likely, you're going to encounter somebody else who's behaving in a different way than they normally do. More emotion, more stress, more joy, more excitement, whatever it is. There's heightened emotion floating all around the earth, November, December. And what does that usually mean for us? For people in general? Maybe more conversations, more interactions. People who want you to come home, people who want you to hang out, people who want to get your opinion on a few things, people who want you to do extra pet sitting for them because they know that you'll be available, people who want your time, attention, and energy because it's a shift for them, so it's going to shift for you. So when I say intensity, I think about it on a physical level, and the physical affects the emotional level. And what I mean by this physical level is that we experience the world through our five senses. That's sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. The more of the senses that we have in the experience that we're having with another person, or the conversation we're having with them, the more emotion or the intensity we will feel. Now, would you agree that it would feel a lot more intense if someone was yelling in your face rather than reading all caps with exclamation points on a screen? Would you agree? I would say that there's a huge difference between the two. The emotion is communicated, but the impact of the emotion may be a lot different for your nervous system. I don't know if I can handle somebody fully screaming in my face, spit flying, and veins popping out of their head. I don't know what I'll do in that situation. I know it'd be hard for me to comprehend the words that they're saying to me, but it's a little different if I could read it on the screen and then put the phone down when I'm done. Why? Because you have more of the senses involved when someone's yelling at your face. You have the visual of the anger and their frustration. You have the smell of their breath. You have the touch of their spit on your face. You have the hearing, the volume, the intensity of it. It is more intense than looking at your screen, reading all caps on exclamation points, and some maybe angry emojis. It's easier for you to get away from that person who is texting you rather than the person who is screaming in your face. And so with both situations, both texting and in person, the idea of intense anger was relayed, but it was experienced by you in two different ways. And one way, you weren't able to regulate your nervous system because you were overwhelmed with the sensory output, their sensory output. You were overwhelmed with it. So whatever you came to say in the situation, you can't. It's gone. It left you. Now you're just trying to be safe. And so your message doesn't get conveyed. And you want to consider that the people that you're talking to and how they might respond when you are deciding how you are going to communicate with them. So let's say maybe you don't want to go home for the holidays, and you're going to be guilted and shamed. And actually being in front of somebody, looking at their eyes, face to face with them, and they're crying or their voice is raised really high and they're just looking at you with such disappointment that the sensory output from them is overwhelming you, and you can't stick to your guns, and you'll say anything you can possibly say to make them stop shaming you. But it can be a little different if you do this via text. You're considering that the person that you're going to talk to is going to shame you and say, look, I don't want to come home for the holidays. And you say that via text, and they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you would say such a thing. Nana only has so much time left, and we really love you and we really want you. You can read the words and you can imagine what they're saying. You can imagine the feeling, the look, but it's not the same as you actually experiencing it. It can be close, but you can always put the phone down and process. You can get out of the overwhelm easily, more easily than it is face to face or being on the phone. It's a whole nother level. So when I think about intensity, I think about sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, our senses. And the more the senses that we have in communication, the more intense it's going to be. And so I rank them as first person or being in person. That is the most intense. Video calls, the next intense. Phone calls after that. Then we have text, and then we have emails, text and emails. And then after that, we have carrier pigeons, because I think people still do that. So knowing that the choice of communication is going to impact our nervous system, we have to make a choice which one we're going to use. And the way we can make a choice, the way I like to make a choice, is to think about the topic of discussion and how the recipient of my communication will receive the topic, how they might receive the topic. And so if I'm going to talk about not coming home for the holidays, and I know that someone's going to get mad or someone's going to shame me for it, I will not put myself in a situation where I'm going to have sensory overload with them in my face. I just won't do it. I may not get on a video call with them so they can make faces at me so they can shame me. I have a little bit more power there in a video conversation because I can just click end. But man, seeing their face and hearing their voice in a way, it just may overwhelm too. And I may not be able to get the words out the way I want to get them out. So then there's a phone call. All right, then I could still hang up. I don't have to see your face. I can still hang up. And then text messages, So what I'm saying is that choosing the kind of communication depends on how much you know about yourself and you're willing to handle that situation. If you know that they're going from 0 to 100 real quick, then maybe email, maybe text, because at least you can get some respite from the fact that they're going to throw this emotional stuff at you. Maybe they send you 50 messages at once. Maybe they send you 50. You gotta hear some pictures, and and then they get other parents in on it too, or they get other family members in on it too, and they start all texting you. But listen, nobody is in your face. It's a difference. You got a little bit more power. You got a lot more power, actually. You got a lot more power. That's different than somebody saying, well, I'm just going to come over. I live right down the street. I'm just going to come over and we're going to talk this out. No, we don't want that to happen. We don't want those intense conversations. So it's on you. And if they say that you need to call me, you need to video me, you need to talk to me face to face, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because the intention that they have for you is to get you to not say what you said, to do something else. But you in your calm state of nerves, without sensory overload, you were able to think about what you wanted, why you wanted it. You probably mulled over it for a few days on how to say it the right way, and then you sent it, you said it. And that was enough. If you do anything else other than what you want to do, you will be giving away your power. They will put you in a position, on a footing where it's uncomfortable for you and you're overwhelmed. And all you will do is say what they want you to say so that they will stop and you will not be overwhelmed, which is not what you would say in a calm, regulated state. You get to choose how you're going to communicate. So let's say you're committed to going home for the holidays, right? And you're face to face and you're not sure what to say. You're not sure how to say it. Well, it takes a little bit of practice to be able to say the things that you're looking for, because in the moment you're overwhelmed and you don't know how to handle it when grandma asks about your love life, or when your dad asks about your job, or they ask about your partner, when you're going to do better and so forth. And you just want to protect yourself from being in that situation or that feeling where you're overwhelmed. Well, I've got you. November 11th, that is today, November 11th today at 6 p.m., we are having our 30-minute masterclass, and I'm going to talk about exactly what to do in those situations to protect yourself and your peace if you're deciding to go home for the holidays. So go to patternsofpossibility.com/events to find out more information, patternsofpossibility/events to find out more information. We'll see you tonight at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, now we've talked about family and how, you want to protect yourself from intensely emotional conversations. But what if it's somebody new? What if it's someone that you don't know and you prefer text messages while they prefer phone calls? And it feels like it's hard to relate to them because they don't want to do the thing that you do, and vice versa. And so, first of all, it is good to notice that there is a communication issue, but there's some way to work on getting closer to what the other person needs. Because what I'd like you not to do is to completely dominate or dismiss their feelings if you want to get to know them in a relationship. I'm not saying that you give up who you are. I'm not saying you give up who you are and what really works for you. But what I am saying is getting to know where you can both compromise or meet in the middle or adjust for each other. And having a conversation with them via text is great for you. But maybe they don't like it if you drop 3 or 4 paragraphs at a time. Maybe they don't like that, and maybe they just cannot comprehend, and they just stop responding to you because it's too much information. If you're able to communicate that to them, if they're able to communicate that to you, or rather, then maybe you consider how you communicate with them. I'm saying I communicate a lot, but maybe you consider how you text them. Instead of sending them 4 or 5 paragraphs of your thoughts, you will send a few messages here and there. You'll shorten it out because that's all they can handle. And they're willing to send you text messages rather than having phone calls because maybe they've adapted to that. Maybe they also want to have a video call every once in a while. Maybe the video calls won't be so bad for you or so disorienting if you had a topic at hand. If you knew what you were going to talk about, if you knew like every Sunday you were going to get together at 7 p.m. to talk about what your day was like that Sunday. Like you're just going to talk about that day, or maybe you talk about the highlight of your week. If you knew that, then you wouldn't feel so overwhelmed and you'd be okay to be on camera or whatever it is. But if you had a specific intention, you don't know. But it's worth discovering and talking those things out and not just completely dismissing that. Go at what feels comfortable for you and your nerves. Go at what feels comfortable for you and your nerves. And not everybody's going to like your style of communication, but communication is a two-way street. So I'd encourage you not to be super rigid with it. Only when it comes to these intensely emotional conversations where I would say be super rigid. But these other conversations where it's supposed to be light and fun and easy and effortless, experiment with it because You have more of your senses not being overloaded to really absorb the new experience. Maybe you really like talking on the phone if you knew it was only going to be for 10 minutes about one particular thing at a certain point in the day. Maybe you'd like to just talk about your coffee for 10 minutes and that's it. I had a friend that we used to do that every morning at 8 a.m. I'd go for a coffee and we'd talk about our coffee and we'd talk a little bit about what we were going to do during the day. And then that was it. We knew it was going to last for 15 minutes. And it took the anxiety about talking on the phone away. Like, what do you talk about? Nobody ever talks on the phone anymore. You got to gather your thoughts. I don't want any dead air here. No, we just it was light and easy because it was a friend. And so I want to extend that to you. All right, let's wrap this up. If you've heard something today that has helped you see yourself in relationships a little differently, then I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave a comment here, or you can reach me at patternsofpossibility@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you could take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe, it really helps more people find these conversations and join our growing community. And speaking of community, if you're looking for a space where you can express yourself and be met with curiosity rather than rejection as a late diagnosed autistic adult, then come visit thepatternsofpossibility.com and find your community there. Learn more about what we're doing. We're connecting with others. You can be yourself and authenticity in this space. Find other people who've had your experiences, who know what you're going through, so you don't have to do this alone. Until next time, take care of your energy and remember that connection starts when you allow yourself to be seen.